Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, from the 90s till now, how would you describe your evolution as a musician, as a human being?
More white hairs.
That's all?
How has it evolved? I mean, how does anybody evolve? You just learn more things as time goes on. You evolve as a person, and that tends to reflect itself in everything else. So, more life experiences, more of that, and just, well, every day I try and learn something. So, maybe the trying helps.
Yes.
Maybe I do learn something. But do you mean musically, how have I evolved?
Yes.
Well, I guess I'm more in the pocket with the drummer now. You know, when you're younger, you're more like a jackrabbit, just pa 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 pa. So I've learned to slow down and let the drummer be the boss, be the leader as he's supposed to be. Yeah.
How it is for you to express your most intimate thoughts, to reveal your complex thinking, your universe, through your instrument, the guitar, which is a beautiful display of emotions?
Thank you. How does that feel? It feels normal. It's what I've been doing my whole life. It's like being bilingual. You have one language, you have the other language, and you just speak with both, and you just try and do the best job of saying what it is you want to say, so that everyone is part of that same collective thought, feeling, everything. Yeah.
What should be the greatest virtue in a rock guitarist?
Being on time.
Yes.
Greatest virtue of a rock guitarist. That's a tough one. The greatest virtue of any guitarist, I would say, is really just their ability to play well with others in a band and be part of something. Where there's a machine that's bigger than any of us, and we are one piece of it that makes it what it is. I'm a band guy, I love bands. So that, just being a good part of a good band.
Yes. When you play a solo, many rock guitarists are breaking out in admiration because you always surprise the audiences and musicians with your unique, your special way of approaching. What would you say is unique about your sound, about your style of playing?
Well, I think there's something unique about every single person, every spirit has something unique. What is unique about mine? I don't know. I mean, we're all just the sum of our lives. We're the sum of our inspirations, we're the sum of our experiences, the sum of our gear, the sum of the music that we love. So I guess, what is it that makes me unique or different? Well, if you want to get technical about it, you can say the thimble that I use on this finger, that's one thing that I've been doing for a good 30 years, where to get notes that are higher than the fretboard, instead of pressing the string against the metal fret and it resonates, the string vibrates just from that point, I keep a metal cap on this finger that when I've run out of frets, I can keep going and hit that down, and the string will only vibrate from that point. So it's almost like a mobile guitar fret that you can move around and put where you want it to be. It's mobile, it's floating the same way the fretless neck is, whereas where you press down, where you shorten the length of the string from is the pitch that you're going to get. So it's more about your fingers than the frets, which is probably what brings it all together, the whole fretless thing. So I guess
this is the essence of your fretless guitar sound.
Pretty much. Well, it's like a big electric cello.
Yes.
Sort of a hybrid. It's a fretless instrument like a cello. You play along the length of the string. You don't bend. Everything is along the length, the same way a violin or a cello would be. So it is definitely a fretless instrument that looks and sounds kind of like a guitar. So I guess those two things may be, I don't know if unique, but not as common, not as usual that you see. A guitar that has a fretted and a fretless neck and playing notes beyond the fretboard with this mobile thing, and singing all this Iron Maiden kind of vocals while I'm doing all this crazy stuff. So it's kind of a big juggling act in a way, or something. Yeah.
What I understood, your favorite musical artists are great names like Kiss, The Beatles, Queen, Led Zeppelin, Stevie Wonder, Nirvana, Iron Maiden, etc. but also classical composers like Chopin and Tchaikovsky. How important was the classical music in your development as a musician?
Oh, it's as important as anything. The jazz guys, the classical, the funk players, the metal players, the rock, the blues, the punk players, everybody. Every single one is like an element in your periodic table, you know, they all need to be there. It's that kind of thing, and every single one is important. Maybe some you draw from more often, but all the rest of it is the icing on whatever cake you're making. It's in there. If it's part of you, it comes out. And definitely listening to a lot of classical music, not just classical guitar music, but you know, just you could even just say music, because that's all that the music was a few hundred years ago. That was it. So that was the rock music, that was the pop, that was the stuff on the radio. That is what people listened to.
Well, Mozart was a star,
yeah,
by the way.
Oh, he was Adele. Not exactly, but he was, yeah, the big stars, the big musical stars of the time.
Yes.
And the music that everybody listened to. In fact, it's so good we still listen to it now. We know it now. I don't know who is going to remember people, contemporary musicians now in 100 years. That'll be interesting in 100 years to see. But the ones from back then, they'll still be around and people will still know those names and their music.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've joined Guns N' Roses in 26 after a recommendation by Joe Satriani about your debut in the band. You've said it wasn't the warmest welcome. I kind of had to earn it. I think it was just more of a situation like a new family member was brought home without the other siblings' consent. Please elaborate on that.
I will not. That's already too much said. It was what it was, and that was the past. That was 11 years ago. If you want to talk about bands and warm welcomes and good stuff, let's talk about Sons of Apollo. We have a new album now. We're going to get to it, okay?
Yes, yes, we talk. But I want to ask you, during the recording, strange events happened. Chinese Democracy is a great album with a modern sound, different from what the original Guns N' Roses sounded like. How would you describe your contribution to Chinese Democracy's sound?
Oh, well, the fretless guitar and some of the melodies and things like that. I mean, everybody contributed so much. There's so many people. I don't think there's ever been an album, I wouldn't even just say rock music, but in music, in recorded music, that had so many people contributing from such a vast array of time and styles and everything to create this final masterpiece. It really is, because if you really break down everything that's going on in that record, there is so much, and it is such a fragile balance of so many parts that works just right. Yeah, Calin Costanza, the producer, the guy that I spent 14 hours a day with, laying guitar parts, yeah, fantastic.
One of the many producers of that album. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of, it's team effort.
Yes. Yeah. In 2011, you formed a band with John Moyer of Disturbed, John and Vince Vota, called Art of Anarchy. Scott Weiland, who passed away in 2015, provided vocals for the debut album, which was released in the same year. In 2016, the Creed singer Scott Stapp replaced Weiland. In fact, the second album, The Madness, was recorded with Stapp. It's a strong, hard and heavy rock and alternative metal album. The musicianship is great. What is, in your vision, the essence of this band?
You know, it's interesting, that one, Sons of Apollo and that one, both, you can really hear the members of the band. You can point out everybody's personality in there very strongly, which is good. That's how it should be in a band. It should be very strong ingredients that make up a very even stronger flavor when you put them together. You know, Scott Stapp, you can recognize his voice from one word. You know it's him. And the melodies that he makes are just ear candy. You know, they're just sweet. Moyer, you know, he's just always great at making just really cool grooves, like just good modern rock grooves. He's great at that. The Voter brothers, they're like old school metalheads, and they bring in this thrashy energy. and then I will bring in, I guess, the George Martin-y certain harmonies or certain melodies and just other things that go on top and production stuff, plus, you know, my own guitar playing and co-writing with everybody. We all wrote together a lot of stuff. So I think it's a nice group of ingredients. You have my weirdo stuff, just a tad. You have the Voda's thrashy, old school metal energy. You have Stapp's radio-friendly melodic voice and very identifiable sound to his voice. You have Moira that just modernizes and makes it all groove. I think it works. I think it worked well. It was the album The Madness came out in March 2017. The title track reached, I think, up to number 23 on the charts in the US, which is good.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, this year you've joined the American progressive metal supergroup Sons of Apollo, composed by Mike Portnoy, Derek Sherinian, two ex-Dream Theater members, the great Billy Sheehan on bass, you of course, and Jeff Scott Soto on vocals. The first album, Psychotic Symphony, is impressive and the musicianship is stellar. What is the main goal of this supergroup?
To just be ourselves and do what we do. It's the same exact thing. It's 5 people with definite personalities that come together, you mix them together, and it forms its own kind of thing where you can hear the individuals, but they come together and it's something more than each of us. Billy, you know the sound of his bass in a second. You know, Mike, same thing. You know, every drummer, he's the one.
Yes.
Derek, I always say he's the best guitar player on keyboards.
Yes.
I mean, the things he does. And Jeff Scott Soto, I remember for the first time I heard his voice on Rising Force and Marching Out. He was just the most, he's just an incredible singer, a great guy. So you put us all together, you stick us in a room and say, all right, make an album. And after a week and a half, that's what we did.
So what was the driving force behind the elaboration of Sons of Apollo's debut album, Psychotic Symphony?
I would say, well, the driving force, if saying it right, well, it started with Mike and Derek. This was their vision. They're like, we want to put this band together, and I said Billy was going to be it. They asked if I would do it, and then we got Jeff, and it was definitely their brainchild. The way Art of Anarchy was John and Vince Voda's baby that it stemmed from. It's Mike and Derek's, and we just started writing together before we hit the studio. Just in the weeks before, I would shoot them over some riff that I made up. Hey, what do you think of this? Cool. Derek would shoot over something. Yeah, cool. Just so we had something to start with when we hit the studio, and then we just picked one and started writing. And by the end of the day, we had a song. Just whatever we jammed to, they'd be recorded, and it all became songs. And it happened very naturally. It wasn't like we relied on the technology as a convenience where, oh, you'll do it from home and I'll do it from home, and that kind of, no, we did it the way a band is supposed to do it. We were in a room together, playing together, recording what we were playing live the way we actually play.
In a spontaneous way, yes.
Yeah, very honest.
Yes.
That's something missing these days.
Yes, definitely.
We need more of that.
Yes. What are the physical and spiritual elements behind Ron Bumblefoot Thaw's creativity and art of playing?
Physical and spiritual, I guess a combination of peace and torment. Just this sort of battle, and I think we all have that.
How do you elaborate your own music? What is the seed of a composition for Ron Bumblefoot Thaw?
Oh, anything that happens. A feeling, just a funny message that just sticks in my head. A groove, a melody, just an inspiration of something else.
Yes.
Like, how does it happen? There's so many ways it happens. The last album, Little Brother Is Watching. The song Argentina, that was one that I was kind of writing for Guns to see if we can start working on some new music together. It didn't happen, and I finished it up and put it on my own record. Same with Little Brother Is Watching. Don't Know Who to Pray To Anymore. A song like Clots, how did that one start? I was just diagnosed with cancer. So that sparked the lyrics, boom, about all these bleeding clots in my body. And just the feeling of despair, you know, getting in touch with your own mortality, you know, and just like, oh wow, I'm not gonna live forever. Something could take me out, you know, and this could be it. That becomes a song. Yeah, Little Brother Is Watching. I was on tour about 3 years ago, touring with Yngwie Malmsteen, and we were doing it's called Guitar Gods, playing like 5 or 6 weeks around the US and Canada. And Gary Hoey was there, and yeah, I remember just being on the tour bus, and that one just came to me. The idea of it, how Big Brother, you know, this big giant thing that watches over us, but the truth is, we do the watching. Look at YouTube, you know, look at Snapchat, Instagram, everything, Facebook Live. We watch and expose and show ourselves and each other, and we show the big behemoth that, you know, was watching us. We expose that too. So that idea, and how it's not Big Brother watching anymore, it's Little Brother. We are Little Brother, you know, like it's a collective of small entities that when you put us together, it's bigger than Big Brother, really. So that became a song. What else? A song like Hugh the Reaper, that's all creepy and weird. Just listening to like the 1967 era George Harrison Beatles stuff, and some of the swishing sounds of his vocals, and you know, yes. Boom, 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 and just the drag of it, and like it pulls back, and sort of just feels like there's a slight warp or something. Like it just feels like you're not steady, like you're just a little bit, that kind of feeling. So that feeling is something that I wanted to make that feeling happen in that song, that you feel that same sort of like you're not quite balanced, like you're swaying a little bit. I remember being at a David Bowie exhibit in Brazil and seeing all his clothing and the handwritten drawings, designing album covers, and it just woke something up in me. And I remember some reason that became the song Sleepwalking. Just certain chord changes in the pre-chorus, how it went to it was maybe a little Ziggy Stardusty or something, in reverse. Things like that. You know, anything could become a song.
So every solo album that you've done, every solo project represents to you a good opportunity to expand your musical horizons. Am I right?
Sure, always. Yeah,
yes.
Everything you do is one step.
Is it difficult somehow for you to create and to play music in these times full of political tensions and social crises?
No.
No.
That's been going on for as long as there's been people.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, we just, you know, we act like, you know, we forget. We forget that this just happened, and before that it happened, and before that it happened, and it's always happening somewhere to someone, to a whole lot of people. And it's happened a lot worse than anything we've experienced. We are nobody to complain about anything compared to what was 70 years ago. Yeah, we have it good. The last thing we should be doing is complaining. We hold all the knowledge in the palm of our hand that we can access anytime.
Too much technology, I would say.
I think that we're just a bunch of apes that don't know how to, you know, we're not worthy of what we've made. Absolutely. We're not ready for it. And we never will be, because we're still just a bunch of apes. But either you can look at that big painting of the whole world on the wall, and you could focus on, oh my God, look who's president, boo-hoo! Or there's so many things you can see that are beautiful. Or you could see it all. But the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that it doesn't define you. You define it. That's the thing that people forget. And I think sometimes they use it as an excuse to not work on themselves. The fact that if the world is having problems, that doesn't define who you are. You define the world by what you contribute to it. So that is really what people maybe, I don't know if they need to be reminded, but they need to take a little more responsibility in themselves and what they're contributing to the world. Because if we all try just one day to be a little better, that's going to be a good fucking day for everybody in this world.
What is, in your vision, the meaning of music and life?
What is the meaning of music? It's love. It's like making love. And what that is to your physical body, that's what music is to your spiritual body. You know, we are a particle in a wave. Love as we consider it, you know, from a hug to sex to whatever it is, to kissing to just whatever it is, that's the music of our physical body. And music is like the love of our spiritual body, of the waves that we are. And that's what music is. It is what brings us all together. It's what does everything. It's what plugs in and gives an electric current to our spirit. You know, and then everyone we're with, they're getting it too. It's what we're supposed to be striving for in life. That's kind of what it is. And when music happens right, you never forget it, and you never forget how it made you feel. You never stop singing it inside you. It's beyond medication. It's purification. It fixes what's broken.
Have you found the credo, the philosophy of your life?
Never will. You know, I mean, shit. What is life? You know, life is this endless thing that you're trying to get as far down as you can, and it's infinite. You'll always just be at the starting point, no matter how far you've gone. You're just starting. Yeah, I'm a child in every possible way, and a student, and that's, you know, you can't even measure how much I don't know. You know, what is my credo? If there's a way to say, I've yet to know what the hell I'm talking about. In that scheme of things, it's like anything I say, I've yet to learn most of it. Yeah.
What is it, as you go forward through life, that you want to achieve artistically, creatively?
At this point, sleep. Well, that's not quite the answer, but what do I strive for? Good night's sleep. I think it's the same thing that any musician shoots for. You want to make music that is going to move people and make them happy and outlive you. Yeah. If I can be part of that in some way, cool.
Which are the next steps for Ron Bumblefoot Thal?
Practicing Sons of Apollo songs. Trying to figure out my solos on that record. And then going out and playing all next year to as many people as we can and doing that thing. Making that connection with everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey everybody, I am Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and you are listening to, watching Rock Connections on Radio Timisoara. Mulțumesc.
clouds and shadows run from you. I'm so loaded, and I want you, yeah. Gonna shoot you, yeah, what they were gonna blow. Gun.